Okay, today we're going to talk about why we should graph data. Rather than just leaving it in a data table, what's the purpose or why would we want to put it into a graph? So data tables are good. They give you a place to record your data whenever you're experimenting. You have a place for all of your trials. You have some place where you can summarize your data. But the bad thing about a data table is that it can be difficult to identify, to see those patterns, the trends, to see a clear relationship between your independent and dependent variable, and that's really what you're looking for in an experiment. Does your IV affect your DV, and if so, how? It also can make it harder to make predictions because you can't see all of the data at one time. You cannot see to make predictions within the data or beyond the data. And with a graph, the reason we're going to put that data from the data table into the graph is because it makes it easier to understand. But the real question is, why does it make it easier to understand? A lot of time on students' answers, I get students saying that the that the graph is easier to understand, that it makes the information more clear, but how exactly does it do that? Well, first of all, again, it gives a visual of the data. So instead of trying to interpret a bunch of numbers that are all in a graph, you can see very clearly patterns and trends that exist between the data. Also, again, it's easier to see the relationship between your IV and your DV. So you can see that a series of points are going in a straight line, much easier on a graph than you can in a data table. It also makes it easier to make predictions. If you have the data in a graph, you can go through interpolation, which means that you're going to be able to say, okay, here at this point, what would the DV would be? I didn't gather data at that point, but I can make a prediction as to what that data would have looked like if I had gathered data there. You can also extend that and go beyond your last data point for extrapolation and make a prediction and say, okay, if I would have gone farther, if I would have taken an additional data point here, what would I predict that that data point would have been?